next.
Like I obsess about it, or like I'm going to be very regimented and like do it every day. So it was more like I would just work out like all the time, like incessantly, daily, and I couldn't not do it, or else it would be, the anxiety is through the roof, and I can't think about anything else.
Now, on shape. As a photographer, I've seen women wish they could change themselves, covering what they thought was imperfect, hiding what was always beautiful. So I created the Shape campaign to help women everywhere, from all walks of life, to find their light through a journey of transformation. With first a photo shoot to see themselves through a new lens, and then a conversation to share their story with the world. This is a celebration of not only beauty, but of every shape, every color, every story, and every soul. I am Raquez Rouse, and this is the Shape campaign.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shape Campaign Show. I'm your host, Raquez Rouse. Today I'm with Moriah Grawl. We're going to kick off today's episode with an icebreaker. It's called Beauty Under Pressure. You know that saying that goes, pressure makes diamonds? Well, you're the diamond, and these questions I'm about to put you under are some real pressure, all right?
Oh boy.
So without further ado, we're going to get into the instructions.
Okay.
So here's how it works. You have a total of 5 minutes to do a full face of makeup using the products in front of you. But here's the twist. You'll have to keep applying the makeup while answering my questions simultaneously. No pausing, no stopping. And when the timer runs out, you must drop everything. Okay. And then we're going to rate you at the end, all right?
Okay.
Sound good enough? Okay, we're going to start our timer now. All right, if your life was a sitcom, what would be your theme song?
Ooh, I think it would be one that I wrote myself. I don't think it would be like a typical
that you wrote
song.
yourself. Okay,
Yeah.
let's hear it. Come on.
Oh boy. Moriah and Remington living in their house with their cat and their dog.
Hey, okay. What inspired that song? Your dog?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, all right.
My husband and I and our little family.
You okay? All right, next question. What's your favorite beauty hack or secret?
So I like herbalism and gardening and stuff, and so chamomile and calendula flowers, they are, if you put like if you have blonde yellow hair like mine, it can help like bring out the color. Like if you put tea that is made from them or products with them, it can. I like putting that in my hair. Okay.
So do you mix it in like a cream form or a tea? Like you steep it and you steep your hair in it? Or?
Yeah, there are things you can already buy that have it in it, but yeah, you can even just make it almost like you're making a tea from it, and then you just do like a soak for your hair.
Okay. Yeah. Next question. What is one of your strongest childhood memories?
I guess I'll go with my first musical. I was in The Wizard of Oz. I was a munchkin.
You were a munchkin.
I was a little ballerina munchkin.
What number were you? Munchkin 539 or munchkin?
Oh God, I don't know if there were that many. You sing like, we represent the lullaby league.
Okay. So did you have to use like a certain voice? Like to like do like
I had a little voice. I was
Let's hear it. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it.
We wish to welcome you to Munchkin Land.
Okay.
Ding dong, the witch is dead.
Next question. When was the last time you cried and why?
Oh, I'm actually on the way up here. I was reading a book. Made me cry.
Okay. What book and why did you cry?
It was Touching Spirit Bear. It's a book about a young man who he has some trauma and he is violent with other kids, and they, instead of sending him to juvie, they do there's a program with the Native American Alaskan tribes that he has to be on an island, like in nature alone, and he learns about his ancestors and life, and it's a good book.
Okay. Next question. What is one of your biggest life lessons or regrets?
I don't have a lot of regrets, I don't think. Life lessons, though, an interesting one. I guess I think, like, if you're not the best at something. It is important to try a lot of different things and to have been in situations where like you have to learn, or where you're not the person that, like, you're maybe doing something that, yeah, maybe that's not something you're naturally super good at, but it's still good to do it. Like it's good to experience a lot of things and to have that humbling experience of there are other people that
Don't forget the eyeshadow now. I need some more eyeshadow on those eyes. Okay.
Oh, it's not my strong suit.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
And let's see where we are on time. All right, you got about 2 more minutes left. All right, next question. If you had a time machine, would you go back in time to change or relive a moment, or would you go into the future?
Well, like, can I go back? Do I have to just go back, like, to my own life, or can I go back, like, to any time?
You can go to any time in history.
Oh, boy. I would definitely go back to history, meet a lot of people. I love history.
Name your top 3.
Oh, boy. William Shakespeare.
Okay.
Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
And, well, like, I have to say Jesus. Like, definitely.
Of course. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to throw this one in there because you're doing better than I thought you were doing. So I'm going to have to mess you up a little bit here.
Oh, my goodness.
What season of the Shape campaign featured Ashley Golson?
What? I'm going to guess 2.
And the answer is season 1. She was one of our first models of the campaign. All right, next question. What does the acronym SHAPE stand for?
Simply human advocating positivity everywhere.
Okay. Give me a little something on that. Let's see. You got some more time left. I need you to keep doing some more stuff. Okay. I'm going to give you another question. Okay. What is one of your favorite movies of all time?
My favorite movie is The Dead Poets Society.
I feel like you're so, like, just cultured. All right, timer, stop. Okay, that's how you did. Okay. I'm going to give you a 9 because I'm loving that lip. You got a little on your chin, but I'll give you a 9 for
that always happens to me.
For effort.
Because I smile a lot.
We're going to let you get cleaned up, and we'll be right back with your story. We'll be right back. People ask me all the time, Raquez, what is the SHAPE campaign? What is SHAPE? And to me, SHAPE is an acronym. It represents simply human advocating positivity everywhere. I started SHAPE to celebrate the beauty of women, their profundity, their excellence, and to hear their stories. Oftentimes we see a beautiful face, but we don't know the story behind the person. So I want you to come along with me on this journey to learn about these beautiful women. These women that have gone through pain and turned it into passion and now into power. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, and follow me on all of my social media at mr.raquezrouse. We'll see you later. All right, we are back with the SHAPE campaign show. I'm Raquez Rouse. I'm here with Moriah Grawl. Miss Moriah, what'd you think of that amazing icebreaker?
It's fun.
It was fun. You handled it like a pro. I'm much impressed with you. I must say. So we're going to jump right into your story. I understand that you grew up in Wisconsin. Tell me about that. What was life like for you in a small town of Wisconsin at that?
Yes, it is. So I grew up in Sturgeon Bay. It's in Door County. So Wisconsin, it's like that. And there's a peninsula that goes into Lake Michigan. And actually half the town is on an island, technically, because there's a canal through it. So yeah, that's where I grew up. It's very small. My high school had about 400 people in it. And it wasn't the smallest high school in the area either. And yeah, it's very rural. There's it's kind of everybody knows everybody. It's very like Wisconsin German farmer, like very self-sufficient, very like just do your work and be hardworking and keep your head down, and you don't have to talk about it. Just like, yeah.
And I understand that religion is a big thing in your faith.
Yeah.
What was that like there? Was it like a Bible Belt? It's not the South, so It's not a Bible Belt like state. How was that?
No, it's not Bible Belty, but I did the first church that I went to until I would say for the first almost decade of my life was a very like staunch Baptist church.
Mhm.
So that was something that I eventually, with my faith, it's grown a lot over the years. But I think that was something I had to reconcile with when I got older, of this picture that was being painted of God being angry or being like very, you have to do everything right, or I'm not, versus God being loving and just accepting of you. Yeah.
Interesting. What was one of the hardest things about growing up in Wisconsin? The winters, maybe?
The winters, yes. Okay. Although when you were a kid, that was just how it was. And it was like, for half the year, we build snowmen and play outside. And so, I mean, I was homeschooled until I was about 10. So you didn't really get snow days. But yeah, it was, I think the hardest thing looking back and having lived other places, or even like talking to my husband about like stuff that was at his high school and stuff, like I realized it was very like where I went to school and my community was not like arts oriented necessarily, like our musical program, our like choir and music programs that I had opportunities to do. Like there were a few people that were, passionate about helping kids do that, and I got the opportunity to be a part of some things that turned me on to theater and music and stuff. But there were not a lot of, it wasn't something that they prioritized. It was pretty much like sports, football, that kind of thing. It wasn't like arts and fine arts and yeah.
I understand you describe yourself as being shy and struggling with social anxiety. Why don't you talk about that?
So, I mean, speaking of theater, it was, I think, really theater that helped turn that around for me. Like I said, I was homeschooled, so I wasn't around other people a lot, like as a kid, just kind of my family. And, I don't know, I guess when I started going to school and being around other kids, it was like, I was just always very independent and kind of different. I grew up differently. So it was like, people aren't going to like me because I'm not the same as everybody else, or they're going to find out that I'm weird or that. And, so it always is kind of this, like, I don't feel like I'm internally always going, but I don't feel like there's a part of me that like nobody sees except for maybe the people I'm really close with. And I'm worried for some reason that everybody else is going to see the inner behind the curtain of me.
And kind of going back to the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. But that seems to be a running theme amongst the season with the ladies, a part of the season with that inner voice, the inner critic. And sometimes we have this voice in our head telling us, you're not good enough. You're not this. They won't like you. They'll think you're strange, whatever. But sometimes those thoughts aren't even our own. And it's like, we have to be able to decipher, are those thoughts coming from outside of me, but it sounds like my voice, or are they really my voice? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's interesting that no matter where you're from, Wisconsin, Virginia, Maryland, wherever, you still can have those same type of challenges mentally. So that's interesting. Now, tell me about your parents. I know they divorced while you were in high school. What was that experience like for you?
For me, I mean, it was honestly at that point, it was almost kind of more of a relief. Like their relationship was never like good, I guess, where it wasn't the first time that they had been like, okay, we're getting divorced, or, oh, we're splitting up. And then, oh, never mind. Like they're back together. Like at that point, it was like, I'm glad we can just like all move on now. Like we're not going to pretend anymore. Like it's fine. Like, and I think maybe part of it was like the almost kind of puritanical religious like side of it. Like, oh, well, it's wrong for us to get divorced, or people are gonna judge us for that.
Sure.
And I mean, I am glad, because I think, especially now, knowing both my parents, I think they're healthier as people, and I think they're happier as people than when I was a kid. So I think it was the right thing for them. So I guess, yeah. So it's obviously not fun. Like it wasn't great.
Right. And what age were you around this time?
Well, I was probably like 16, when it really all came to a head. Gotcha. Like, throughout my life, though, it had been.
Yeah. And I understand that you dealt with some body image issues. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I think it started in probably 6th or 7th grade and went up through high school and into college and stuff. It was just something I've kind of always, it's hard to remember like when I didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it just started like it was, I don't really have a pinpoint moment where it like turned on, but it was like, I'm just going to start eating less. I think I want to look thinner. I think I'm going to try to lose weight. And it wasn't something I told anybody, but it was something that other people, you know, noticed decently soon. Yeah, it just started and then it just progressed, I guess.
And you said that you wanted to look like athletes, TV characters, and even cartoons. Wow, that's some high standards to put yourself against as a child. Mm-hmm. Now, I know this went to some extremes. Why don't you talk about those extremes that it went to?
Sure. So I'm very OCD, like, and that's a diagnosis that I have, and it's, you know, I've been to therapy and that kind of thing, but, if I'm going to do something, like, I'm going to do it. Like I obsess about it, or like I'm going to be very regimented and like do it every day. So it was more like I would just work out like all the time, like incessantly, daily, and I couldn't not do it, or else it would be, the anxiety is through the roof, you know, and I can't think about anything else. And also limiting, like, eat less than this amount of calories and work out this long or this many miles. And so eventually it was, when I was 14, 15, I went to the doctor for like, I was going just for like a sports physical. Mm-hmm. It was an every other year thing. I hadn't seen her in a little while. And it was kind of like a plan. I'm just going to, go, and she's going to sign off, like, so that I can do sports. And then I'm just going to go back to school. Mm-hmm. And the doctor, I mean, I'm pretty sure what happened, like, is the nurse probably took my heart rate and was like, it's really low. Her heart rate's like 30. Like, that's not normal. So then she goes and tells the doctor. And the doctor came in, the pediatrician. She was like, she listened, and then she was like, I'm going to take an EKG to look at like your heart rhythm, because your heart rate, like, it's very bad. Like, it's, and then she did that, and she looked at it and she was like, you guys are like, you're not going back to school, and you're not going to soccer practice like anytime soon. Like, you're going to go to the like nearest big city that was to us was Green Bay. Right. And it was like, you're going to go there to see the pediatric cardiologist, And this started around the age of 11 and 12, right? Yeah. So at that point, it had been going on for a while. And I understand that there was another family member that was really close to you that also dealt with body image issues as a child. Why don't you talk about that? Yeah. My dad, and he actually wrote a book. It's called Skinny Boy. And he's done, part of how I know a lot about eating disorders is that he's spoken, like he would go and do speaking about eating disorders and awareness and stuff. Mm-hmm. So when he was around the same age as me, his was it was anorexia, kind of straight anorexia the whole time, where he was a lot like me, where he was very athletic and did sports and was, you know, a healthy kid, but then he just started obsessing about I need to be better. My body can always be like better. I can be thinner and, you know, more muscular. And for him, he spent he was in and out of the hospital. He was hospitalized. He lived in the psych ward for a while, and he had to be in and out, like admitted to get IVs and stuff like that for his body, so that his body didn't die on him, essentially, to the point where he had pushed it. But yeah, actually now he works as a therapist at that same hospital. Full circle, right? Yep. And I understand. So let's put some things in perspective with the timeline, right? Mm-hmm. So your parents divorced when you were in high school. Mm-hmm. Did you also described as going through a depressive state as well? So were you, as far as you can remember, anorexic before they divorced or after? Before. And okay. I was first, I think, like people, like my parents were worried and noticed, and then I was diagnosed with depression. It was in childhood. It was before preteen. It was childhood. Yeah. And I wonder, as a child, being that your father also dealt with those things, did he notice patterns within you, or were there certain things that he put onto you as far as like certain ways you should eat, and he didn't let you eat sugar, things like that? Or is there any influence like that? I think my parents, they really tried, not to have because my mom has, her own stuff too, like mental illness and stuff. So I get it from both sides, but they tried, not to have it affect us as kids. But yeah, I think, you can't even subconsciously, like, you can't completely block that from your kids. They're very healthy people. Like, my parents both work out, and like, eating what you can and cannot eat is important. Like, health is important to them. I think I was talking with like someone the other day, and I was like, you were allowed to eat like Fruit Loops and sugar. He was like, yeah, we could just go to the store and pick whatever cereal we wanted. And I was like, what?
But that wasn't a norm for you then.
No.
So give me an example, right? What was a dinner, a normal dinner for you and your child in your household?
It'd probably be it would have like some kind of meat, like chicken, and then some kind of carb, like rice, and then it would be like vegetables, and you'd have to eat your vegetables, before you left.
But there were no junk food, no chips, no sodas.
I mean, some, like, you were allowed to, especially like if I was at my grandparents' house, that was like when we could have soda and like sugary stuff, because, grandparents, they give you what you want. But yeah, so when we would travel to see my grandparents, that was typically when we could have that kind of thing. But if we had like junk food or dessert, it was like limited, like it was like a once a day kind of thing,
Do you think that your father noticed that you had an eating disorder early on, or did he ever say anything, pull you to the side, we need to get you some help, anything like that?
I mean, my parents noticed. I think my mom was the first one that noticed when I was like in middle school and asked me, like, she asked me like, oh, are you like trying to lose weight? Like, are you? And I remember being like, no, and then she just kind of was like, okay. And then it was for a little while, then I didn't hear anything about it. My dad, I know he eventually noticed, like everybody noticed eventually, like knew about it. But I guess he's not, I don't know, like my dad, I guess he doesn't deal with like confrontation well. He's a very kind of quiet guy. But so he did like try to talk to me about it some, and it was also something that I was not very open with. I don't know why, but it is like a weird deep-seated shame about it. Like, I don't want, like, I'm gonna limit what I eat and stuff, but I don't want other people to know. Like, I feel weird talking to other people about it almost.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I understand that you dealt with how do you pronounce it?
Orthorexia.
Orthorexia. Yes. Talk about that, because I've never heard of that before.
Yes. So there's different subtypes of eating disorders. So anorexia, bulimia, and then like a binge like eating disorder they're the most common ones. But then you have other subtypes. So anorexia is like you don't eat any, you try not to eat anything or hardly anything. And then bulimia is like you will eat, but you have to in some way, purge it or compensate for it. But then orthorexia is like you will eat some, but everything you eat has to be like very, like, I will only eat things that have like 0 grams of fat and this many grams of carbs and like this many. I'll only eat like these, like maybe 5 foods, like, and that's it kind of thing. So it's common for like OCD in people who are very regimented. It's more common. It can even be, I think that one can even be seen not even for people who are obsessed with like weight loss, but it's like even for like kids on the spectrum where like they have like texture and like they will only eat this kind of stuff. Like I think orthorexia can also be something that happens. Like, so
which came first for you? Was it the anorexia, the bulimia, or the orthorexia?
The anorexia.
The anorexia.
I think, yeah.
And for those that are listening, would it be, is it more of a, would you say a stage of one disease, mental illness, or are these three different totally different?
I think they are subtypes. I don't think it's a stage, because that's like you go from one to the other, and you can go back and forth, and I sort of did, but some people just have one,
Mhm.
you know, so I don't think they're stages. I think they're the core thing that causes them is similar, you know, it's coming from this, but it's just how you manifest dealing with it, I guess.
Interesting. Now, for those that may be dealing with this, what are the signs to help get someone help, and how did you go about getting healing from this?
Yeah, so I went to therapy for, you know, a while. I had a therapist, you know, for depression and other things already, that after kind of the medical repercussions, they had me it was almost like a concession where I didn't have to go inpatient, is that I would do intensive outpatient therapy. So I would, you know, even get out of school regularly 2 or 3 times a week and go see my therapist. I will say, so signs for kind of to go back to that, like for people who might have it, I guess it's like obviously people losing weight or looking thin is a sign. But some people, like, because everybody's body's different. So, like, I realized this, like, some people, like, that classic, like, anorexia pictures, like, my dad was like this, where they look unhealthy thin.
Mhm.
Like, you can tell that something is wrong,
Mhm.
but not everybody. Like, for me, people who knew me, I definitely looked thinner, or they would say, like, unhealthy for me. But if you were someone who didn't know me and just saw me on the street, you wouldn't necessarily like think, oh wow, she looks starving. Like
Mhm.
it just depends. Like some people they just are that skinny, where like they do eat and they are healthy, but they look like, wow, that person is really thin.
Now, you mentioned having shame about talking about it. So I wonder for you, when did you realize that you had a problem?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I think I realized, I think within the first year or two, I mean, it's kind of almost like addiction, where you deny you have a problem and then it's hard to stop kind of thing.
Mhm.
But it's, I guess I knew it was almost like I knew in the back of my head that it wasn't healthy or it wasn't good, but it was like, not like I don't care, but like I don't know how to fix it though.
Mhm.
Like, or I don't wanna stop. Like, so I had to be forced to stop.
Of course.
So I was taken out of sports, and I wasn't allowed to do any exercise, you know, other than just maybe go for a short walk. Like I was allowed to go outside, but so I couldn't do any working out. And then I went to therapy. And it was like, all right, now that I'm forced to do this, it's been a long time since I've not worked out,
Mhm.
you know, spent a day, or like since I've not monitored my calories like that. And like, I'm still here. I guess it wasn't that bad.
Mhm.
Like, so, but I had to be forced. I would never have done that on my own, I don't think. So the woman who was my therapist, she was great. Joanne. She was a Christian therapist. She would pray, you know, before every session. And she was also a therapist. Like, I think, like, because my parents are therapists and my sister does social work, you know, with
Wait,
emphasis
hold on.
on
Your
therapy.
parents were therapists as well?
Yes.
So were they therapists when you were going through this?
Yeah.
And so that would beg the question, how did they not know this sooner?
I think it's very different. It's kind of like the thing where like giving advice to other people is one thing, but doing it yourself is a whole nother thing.
Okay.
Like, and I think they are clever. Like they are analysts.
Mhm.
They are intuitive
Yeah.
people. Like, so I think they notice, but I think it's a matter of like, it's like the thing where like you never think it's going to happen to your family
Mhm.
though. And
Do you think there was a bit of a denial that they went through? Maybe like,
I
not
think
my daughter,
so.
not my Moriah.
Yeah, or it was like she's fine, you know,
Yeah.
she's still doing all of the
Yeah.
activities, and she's still getting straight A's, and so she must be fine,
Yeah.
you know. But so yeah, so I guess in therapy, a lot of it ended up being like stuff that wasn't even at the outset related to the eating disorder. It was like past stuff, like stuff from childhood that has, it's like the like anger that has been turned inward.
So it sounds like the eating disorder was the byproduct of all of the other things.
I think it was.
That's your coping mechanism, if you will.
Yeah, right. I think it was a symptom. It was to get control, or it was to express, anger that you feel is stifled. So I did. I mean, she did a lot of like body like biofeedback and stuff. Like okay, it sounds crazy. Some of it sounds crazy. There's like a thing called splanchna, where if you hold out your arm. Because like your body, if you've ever read the book, The Body Keeps the Score.
Okay.
That's amazing. That's great. It's by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. And it's about how even when you have trauma or when you have emotional pain, your cells, like your very cells, your body also stores it. And like you can store different emotions in different parts of your body. And this has been studied where like typically people store these types of emotions in their kidneys or in their heart or in their stomach and their liver. And like a lot of my emotions ended up being like it was in my stomach, which is, and it kind of makes sense, I guess.
Gotcha.
But like, yeah, they do. And your body knows, like, even though you don't consciously know, your body knows things.
So walk me through this method that you were taught in therapy.
So you have to be trained to do it. Like I'm not trained in it, but she was. So I would hold on my arm.
Out. Okay.
She would like, you want to ask your arm? I'd be like, fine. So it would be like, all right, your name is, and she pushes the same amount every time. I would always be like, you're pushing harder.
Is there a particular spot on the hand?
I think so. It's like right here. And she would do it. And she would go like, all right, let's test it out. Your name is Ed. And it would just, my arm would go like that. And she'd go, your name is Moriah. And my arm would dip like that. It's like, and it would feel to me like she was pushing harder. Like I couldn't keep my arm up. And it was like, I would be like, well, why'd you push hard? She's like, I didn't. Your body, and it sounds crazy. I'm a scientific person. It's not crazy. But, and then she'd go like, you're a boy. You're a girl. So then she'd be like, all right, so what are you feeling? Like you're feeling like abandonment, over responsibility, trauma. And then it would be like.
So is it used more as of a, like, to gauge where you are, or to see if you're lying about something? Because
it's more to find buried emotions, like subconscious. Like you have. And there's another thing where like you have like, that's another thing that I learned that I had was like dissociation, which it helps. It helps in my profession. It helped when I worked in the ER because it's like, yeah, if something traumatic or crazy is going on, I can just turn off like and I just do what has to be done, but I'm not there emotionally, So that's something that I think I picked up in childhood and that I didn't realize I had till I was in college. And but it's like you have like child versions of you that were traumatized still in you, but you separate thoughts and emotions that you can't reconcile with because your brain is made to help you survive, keep you going, through life. So if there's something that is so traumatic, or even like things like as a kid, things that are traumatic might not be things that will be traumatic to adults. But unfortunately, a lot of kids still have very traumatic things. So like if you separate things where you don't consciously know, you're like, I'm having these symptoms, like the reasons why a lot of people go to therapy, like I feel sad all the time. I can't enjoy anything. I have an eating disorder, and then I don't know why though, we say like, I don't know why. And then you go to therapy and that's like what therapists are trained to do. They dredge things up. I think my mom once said this. She said, people as a therapist, you have to know, like, because people are going to get mad at you, like that you dredged all this stuff up for them. But you realize they brought the garbage into the room. They brought this whole bag of garbage in the room. All you did is you poked a hole in the bag so that they could see the garbage. Like you didn't cause the garbage.
And so it sounds like when you're bringing it up, they don't like the reaction, the feeling, because it's uncomfortable. Oh, no. It's uncomfortable to deal with the truth and to face it, but you have to be able to feel better and heal. And
Joanne would be like, okay, do we need to do some forgiveness work? That was the thing, I guess. It would get in the way of like the splanchna. And she'd be like, all right, who do you have to forgive? Yourself. And sometimes it was yourself. Sometimes it was God. And she's like, is it me? Sometimes it would be like, yes. It'd be like, all right, say this. I forgive Joanne for making me work on this. I have to say, like, I forgive Joanne for making me work on my problems.
And Moriah, part of the mission with the Shape campaign is about taking and turning pain into passion, to inspire other people as well. I understand you work in healthcare, so tell me about what things you're doing to advocate and help people that may have certain eating disorders and things.
Sure. Well, I went into, like I said, I went into nursing right away from high school, and I wanted to get it done real fast. Like I went through nursing school. I got my 4-year degree in 3 years, and just like same like month I turned 21, I also like took my boards and graduated, and then I was like, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna go somewhere. I can be a nurse anywhere. Like I wanna see the world. I've only lived in Wisconsin. So I got a few jobs. The job I accepted was in Roanoke in like a level 1 trauma ER.
Roanoke, Virginia.
Learning. Yes, Roanoke, Virginia. And I moved there. I'd never been there. My cat and I packed up and moved to Roanoke. I learned a lot in the ER. Now I switched and I do just pediatrics. I work in a pediatric clinic, and I like that because, one, I get to know my patients a little more. Like in the ER, they come in, you see them, they're gone, kind of thing. Like you can still obviously have an impact on people, definitely. And I feel like I did, but it's different. Like when you see them regularly, you see kids, you see them grow up kind of, they know you eventually. And I like that. It's something I eventually want to do more of. I do plan to go back to school and stuff. But, I also enjoyed right now doing things like this, or doing theater, I'm like, I have my whole life to do that eventually. If I'm a doctor or an NP, that's going to be my life. So right now,
one thing I would say I've noticed about you, Moriah, you are a ham. You're performative. And it's a very beautiful thing to see, because I can tell you really enjoy entertainment, and it's awesome. And I think it's a stark contrast to what you do as a pediatrician as well, because one of the things that I think is beautiful is when people have multifacets and they're able to pivot from one thing to the next to the next. Tell me about one time where you have had to be able to help someone specifically with body image or anorexia or bulimia.
Yeah. Well, we have a few patients where it's, sometimes it's not, because I know it's hard. Like, I know that when I was a kid, I didn't want to talk about it, and so it's not like something that I'm going to push, like, oh, so how is your eating? Like, because I don't know if that's necessarily helpful. I think it's just people just being there, and just knowing and not being non-judgmental, like being like, this is just normal, like they have to come in and get their weight, their blind weight, and they have to do, their blood pressure and everything. And then, just being there, being like, how you doing? Like, it's good to see you. Very like non-judgmental, I guess, is good.
And I think meeting that with empathy is the key. Being able to maybe you don't always understand the exact feeling, but being able to see someone from where they are and meeting them halfway, I think that goes a long way. Now, with the Shape campaign, what made you be a part of this, and what has your experience been like with the campaign?
I just, I saw it and I was like, I think that seems really cool. I've come to enjoy things like modeling and, acting and stuff over the years. And I was like, but this is better because it's like for a good cause. And I'm really glad I did it.
Moriah Grawl, thank you so much for being a part of the Shape campaign season 4. I'm excited for all there is to come for you, and keep shooting for the stars. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. We'll see you later. Think you've got what it takes to be featured on our next season of the Shape campaign? Well, submit your photo to raquezrouse.com. We'll see you later.
Shape. Stay tuned for our next episode.